This is Shalene. Welcome to What We Learned This Week, episode 27, where it might not matter, but we're going to talk about it anyway. Liz is off doing homework, or more likely, doing carpool. I'm sure there's a few of you out there that know what that's like. This is part 2 of our Jenny Johnson interview about grief. If you haven't listened to part 1, probably go on over to episode 26 and catch up. She has so much advice and wisdom dealing with grief, and I'm so impressed by what she has to say. So I can't wait for you to hear it. And like Liz says at the end of the interview, you could take a whole page of notes and then some with some of the things that she has to say. And without further ado, here's part 2.
If you were handed the book on grief and knew all the things that you know now, would you really still even know though? Like, would you?
No.
Because you hadn't experienced it, right?
Right. But you know what's interesting is that my body knows and God knows.
Interesting.
So one of those things is about like talking, right? Like being able to talk about it, but like I couldn't talk to anyone about it. And so I got this, so that the way that my job came about was he passed Easter weekend, and then it was in the fall. I needed a job. I actually had finished a training to become a medical transcriptionist, and I finished that training and took my final the day he had his accident.
Oh my gosh.
And I found out the next day that I passed. So that my previous year was kind of this mourning, being a stay-at-home mom. I was mourning and grieving it was time for me to kind of do something different. And that whole year was about that, like that year before. It was just this weird thing that I kind of look back on and I'm like, my gosh, what is happening? And so being a medical transcriptionist at home, not talking to anyone all day was like something I couldn't do. Yeah. I realized that when my kids went back to school, I started having massive panic attacks about being home alone.
Wow.
And I was like, but I don't even know what to do. Like grief paralyzes you. You can't move. You don't know what to do. All the things that you normally love to do, like for me, yoga, reading, meditating, all went out the window. I did none of it. I couldn't do it. I got on my mat and I would sob the whole time, or I would have I would have panic attacks. I would anything and everything that's normal to you is just not anymore. And you cling to it. You feel like you've lost yourself, literally. So you don't sleep, you don't eat well, you don't exercise, and you are in bed. So you're not getting sunlight. Those are the 4 things that are foundational for all of us to heal. We need to get enough sleep. We need to make sure if you can't eat. So I learned right away, if I can't eat, then what I am eating has to be very highly nutritious.
Okay.
And I need to get in the sun. So if I want to sleep, how about I go outside for a little while and close my eyes in the sun and exercise? So for me, that was just literally, I would go outside and I would just like go for a walk. Or what was super healing for me at the time is we have a little neighborhood pool. I would go to the pool and I would swim for a little bit, and then I would lay in the sun and I would cry. Nobody was there. Like I would go and nobody was there. And I would cry in the sun. Like, I don't know. So it's interesting because it's like my body knew what I needed,
Right.
And it just craved those certain things. And so then going through and learning about these things that help us heal right after these traumas, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Those were some things I was already doing. Like my body found a way to do those things. It just didn't look the way that it always did for me, right?
What a blessing that you were intuitive enough to be able to hear that. Because I think one thing that can scare us, and I love that Shalene had a question about that and wanted to talk about that a little, is when you are going through grief, I think one thing that can throw a lot of us too is we don't know how to read all those messages. We don't know what that means. And because we are a society that's go, 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 or doesn't sit with some of it, or we want to fix or whatever, we do that to ourselves too. Don't you think a little bit?
Yeah.
My little bit of experience with grief, that's what my experience is then I internalized a lot of it, that something was wrong with me and that I was less than because I was not handling it the way I should or could, or not coping.
Right.
Or for me, my situation happened after I'd started yoga teacher training as well. And so then I'm like, I have all these tools. What's wrong with me? Why can't I use them? Why is this so hard still? I still am crying every single day and can't get out of bed. I relate to everything you're saying. But then all those messages were freaking me out. I guess I forgot still that I was grieving. And
it's okay to not be okay. Like, it's okay to not, we don't give ourselves permission to not be okay. Like, what, who says that you can't, it's, I mean, for lack of a better word, it is a sickness in a sense. And it doesn't totally go away, but it does get better. I think one of the things that hit me the most was, and it came into my mind, and that's the other interesting thing. We may not be intuitive enough, or we fear that we won't be able to read those messages that come from, you know, wherever, right? The universe, God, whoever, ourself, right? I mean, that soul inside of you knows what it needs to heal. Our bodies are constantly working to heal themselves. It's just this thing that happens. And so we have to trust that. And that was the thing that hit me the most, is that, first of all, no feeling is final. This isn't final.
Oh, I like
it's not final. I'm not going to feel like this forever. But the problem is we get really wrapped up with, like, how is that going to look? And
when is it going to happen?
When and how.
Yeah.
We don't just trust that it will, or that it is already happening, or that part of that process of healing is not being okay. You know, like, I learned right away how much I try to please people. So those weeks when I was down in bed, I had to shut everything down. I literally had to just go right back to the basics of, who do I want around me that's comforting? And that's not everybody. It's just a couple of people. Who do I want around me? Media, like they say, be careful how much you're on your phone, and all, you know what I mean? All the things they tell you about grief. But the thing is what I needed was comforting movies. I started a phone game, and I think to myself, like, for a while, my brain was like, oh my gosh, you're addicted to this. You need to stop playing this. You need to, you're spending way too much time. But our brain cannot cope with that trauma. They can only, so what happens is that trauma, literally, they cannot cope with that. And so they check out. Okay. So what happens is there are moments when it will. And that's when we cry and we have these, this outpouring, right, of grief. It's because we're, again, digesting that layers upon millions of layers that come up. But then the brain needs a break from that. Like, I found I couldn't, I had to numb. I had to turn on White Christmas, and I had to play a stupid phone game. But the comforting thing that came to mind for me a couple of times was, okay, first of all, it's not self-destructive. That I knew that I would need more help if that was the case. Like, that was something that I was seeing happen around me too. Some of the people that I care about, is they were drinking heavily. There was a lot of things like that were happening. And for me, it was kind of like, okay, this is definitely a better way of coping than some other things that are self-destructive. Does that make sense? But those are things that...
Sorry, so really quick to clarify. So you're saying that the numbing out isn't necessarily a problem, because we really do, it's almost that reset button, right? Like, I kind of call it, I mean, again, in yoga, we do this with our students, right? Like, that's what Shavasana is meant to be. Final rest is meant to be where you reset. Your nervous system resets. You have to shut down. We sleep at night because it's the same concept. You can't go forever. So, but there's a difference in some of that numbing out and what's self-destructive.
Self-destructive. There is a difference. Okay. And what's interesting is, in your yoga practice, you'll take child's pose throughout the practice, right?
Right.
Or what do we teach ourselves when we're in that practice and we find that our heart is racing, and we're because we are go, right?
Right.
What happens when we can't? Literally, I've been in a class where I can't go. My heart is racing, and I'm like, wow, I have to take child's pose.
Yeah.
Or walk out of a room.
Too.
Literally. So then we learn sometimes that we can either honor that, or our body makes us honor it by just saying, I'm done right now.
Right.
And that's kind of what happened for me. It was just those times when you're not taking care of yourself. I'm going to take care of you by shutting things down for a little bit.
Right.
And
I'll send the message.
And then we're in the habit of judging that, because we're in a yang society where we go all the time.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Not be okay.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I feel like you two are really aware of your bodies and your emotions, and not to have a pity party of myself, but I just haven't developed that skill yet, but I've noticed at times in my life where my body's like, you're done. You're tired all the time. And I'm taking naps like all the time. And I think because like you said, my body knows that I'm going through stuff, even though if I'm not realizing it, and it does, it tells me you've got to stop or I'll get a cold or, something will happen.
Yep.
Wow. I love that.
Slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. It's, and that's what that's what our teacher would tell us, right, Liz? Like we become depressed when we don't have, it's deep rest, right? We need deep rest or we become depressed. And our bodies just I think we're in a society where we deal with a lot of that because we don't know how to honor ourselves. We don't know how to kind of, I don't know what's the word, live, in a way that's even, right? It's just rush and then slow down and then rush and then slow down. It's not, it's not balanced at all. Mm-hmm. And the more balanced you are, the more strength you have, right? And so that's what we're trying to find is that.
But can you be balanced in the midst of grief?
No, because to be honest with you, I mean, I could give all the advice in the world about it, but it hits you and you don't. All cognitive thinking goes out the window. I mean, I teach people about these things, like teach them meditation and yoga, and I couldn't do it for myself at all.
So was it the support as well? I mean, I hear you talking a lot about the things that you did, like the 4 things, right? Like eating, sleeping, rest, some of those things. Did it help having, I mean, I'm trying to think of like the rest of your support system too. You said you surrounded yourself with those that were really comforting, just people you wanted to be around. Your spouse, for example. I imagine that for you in that situation, knowing that he could help. Yeah. Was that a conscious thing even, that he could pick up where needed, or but you really could be in bed so he could I mean, I'm sure he had his own amount of grief too, though. But
yeah, it's interesting because I learned this as well, that men grieve differently than women. Women need to talk and they kind of have their shutdown times. Men work, they have to do something. They get projects. Oh my gosh. They get busy. It hurt them when I want to talk and I need to like slow down, and he's like, let's go. Like the more we get done, the more it's like he can't fix the problem, but he can fix lots of other things.
Well, it's almost a way of numbing out too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't need to say it like that, but
that's exactly what it is.
We watched this. We didn't have some of the trauma, quite the same trauma surrounding some of it, but it's been interesting hearing some of this because my husband lost his brother at the end of last year. And I just now put together how some of that has affected him, because we have not talked about it, but maybe 2, 3, 4 times. It's been a year almost. Yeah. And I'm like, maybe he's really okay. He's fine. And then the other day, I want to say it was a week ago, and his brother was such a goofball. He loved Josh Groban. He would play Josh Groban, and then right,
do all
these pretend. Yeah. You got the image. And I think we were playing that one Sunday or something, and he lost it. He completely, almost exact same crying as the funeral, as the night that we found out that he lost his brother. But that's it. Again, no talking, no nothing. And he's thrown himself into the craziest projects. I can't even tell you. We're getting solar panels on our house. Like, he was like working construction as a second job for 6 months afterwards. And I'm thinking, what is happening? Why would you work 2 jobs in 60 to 70 hours a week? And he was like, this is the greatest thing ever. Oh goodness.
But then we think that's bad, but it's not.
Well, he's processing
that's
it.
That's how he's digesting it.
Yeah.
Like think about when we physically move, like in yoga, like on our mat, like when we physically move, how we're working things out spiritually and emotionally too. Like it's just, that's what he's doing.
Well, it's a two-way process.
That's what men do. Yeah.
Right. We work things out physically to work them out spiritually. And sometimes we work it out spiritually to experience it and have to release it physically as well. It's crazy. Our bodies are cool, but wow.
They are. Yeah, the interesting thing about people around you is who you surround yourself with. This is something that I learned almost immediately, was that there were people that came out of the woodwork who got it. And they, because they've been through it, right? Yeah. And that gave me some hope. So they would check in. How are you doing? You know what I mean? Interesting was a woman that she's my mom's age. And so I grew up with her, and she lost her son a year before Matt passed. And her son was about my age, and it was a traumatic death as well, sudden. And I had been reading her posts on Facebook for a while. And so she reached out and she kept in touch with me. And so that was super interesting how she came out of the woodwork and was able to help me through a lot of things. I have a friend, like my best friend. I love her every day. There's not a day that goes by that she doesn't check in. How are you doing today?
Wow.
Like every day. I have
What
another
a
friend who
good
just sends me
friend.
pictures of sunsets and sunrises. Like that's just what she does every day. Almost every day I get a picture from her. And, you know, so those are super healing. You know, I went to a class
Wow.
where she talked about that. She says, grow your village. You're going to find out one of the greatest blessings in trauma is you find out who your friends are. You find out the people who are willing to support you, and you can learn a lot from those people. And because at some point you're going to be that person, and that's healing too when the time's right. You know, for a long time I just couldn't. People would say that and I'm like, are you kidding me? I can't even sit in my own grief. Why would I want to sit with somebody else in theirs, you know? And because it triggers you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah. But I feel a year and a half later, slowly in the last couple months, even feeling like I can come out of that. But what's interesting is that job that came about a few months after, you know, the bookstore job that came about a few months after my brother passed was crazy because it got me out of the house and connecting with people. And the cool thing was connecting with a person for 5 minutes, if that, and then they go on their way. There's no like, I have to follow up and have a relationship with this person, but I can connect with the person. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah.
Like I look back on that and it's like been one of the most healing things for me. I didn't know that I needed that. It just came about.
It was like a little gold in the, that's really beautiful.
Human connection is huge. Yeah,
it is. And I think that's what really drew me to you though, too. And the opportunity to share this and why I felt so drawn to it as well is because I have been watching, and I joked about stalking you on Facebook, but I was watching a lot of this unfold over the last year and a half and how powerful that was for, you know, for me to hear and to witness and to just know. Sometimes there's a lot of comfort in just knowing you're not the only one in the boat. I don't know.
Right. So true.
And one thing I do have one more question as we kind of wrap up that it's been nagging at me. So I hope it's not like inappropriate question. We have little griefs that we experience all the time. And I think you kind of touched on it already. So I'm not sure why it's nagging at me to like ask it again, because you did talk about how, you know, it's not just death that we experience grief over, but you also did mention that for the year before you'd been experiencing just being at home and, you know, feeling some of the grief surrounding that. I guess my question is kind of, you know, do you think a lot of this applies even just on the daily, because truly a part of this life really is just experiencing these little great griefs on the regular? I mean, Chalene said, you know, I haven't had a similar experience. So does that make me unqualified? And to some degree, I mean, qualified, maybe not even the right word. I feel like the question just got really long. Sorry. I'm still asking it. Wait a second. I didn't mean to ask that long. But the point, I guess, more or less is, do we have these little griefs on the regular that we experience? And does the same kind of thing apply?
Absolutely. And that's something that I discovered. I didn't realize how, like, I'm able to actually look back in my life and go through my journals and read about all the times and recognize the grieving in my life. Like, we think about, like, when I got married, I grieved being at home. I grieved my family. I grieved that.
Being single. Oh, wait.
Right? Ball and chain, people.
We love you. We love you.
Yeah, for sure. Or just when I moved away from Utah, like I grieved. Like for 3 months when we moved up to Portland, I was sad. I was sad. I didn't even know why I was sad. What am I sad? This is fun. It took me a little while to adjust. Like it literally is a digesting. That's what I kind of feel like this life is. It's digesting experience. Like we're here to experience things. That's what we're here to do. And as we experience whatever it is, right? It isn't just life and death we're experiencing. It's everything. It's relationships, it's stages, it's seasons, it's all of these things in our lives that we're experiencing, that some things we can digest quickly and some things we can't. And we can't compare that to somebody else's and how they digest certain things, right? Because I watch people and sometimes they digest things a lot. Like some women are like, I can't wait to like have my kids in school and go to work. And I'm like over here mourning for a year about that. You know,
Yeah.
we can't compare these things, but yet we struggle on the daily for sure. You know, I mean, even 8 birthdays, right? We turn 30, we turn 40.
Ugh, every year my birthday.
I have to wear glasses all the time now. Like, you know, there's just these things, you know, like this sounds silly, but like I lost a tooth last year and I'm like had to have like an implant put in. I'm like, oh my gosh, am I really at this point in my life? Gray hair comes up, you know, like,
Yeah,
you know, it's funny, but we like literally kind of have these moments where we mourn that, you know, and
I appreciate
definitely,
that. Yeah.
and then we have to talk about. Really, I feel like one of the biggest things for me, and this may not be for everyone, but I have heard this quite often, is we live in a culture of silence. We don't talk openly about anything, really. We're not real. We're not real with each other. You know, we can write it in our journals, which is great, but then who reads that? It's when we die. Then, I mean, how are we relating to each other? You know, and how comforting that is to know that you can read somebody's Facebook post that's real and be like, wow, I have that in my life too. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I've had a lot of people tell me not to post those things, that it makes them uncomfortable that I'm so open, but yet that only reveals where they are. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, never stop. Never stop.
Well, I have had my moments. Yeah, I have had my moments where it's hurtful. You know, I've had close family say, you are just like post too much about this. Like, it's kind of because it makes them uncomfortable. And so then I'm quiet for a little bit and I'm like, no, I'm not going to be quiet anymore.
Yeah. I'm so glad.
But, you know, I think that's just another huge thing we need to do. We need to talk about those things. All of it.
So,
all the grief.
Thank you for that. That is beautiful. I'm going to, wow. I love it. My mind's blown. Not blown, but
you guys are
my notes page is out of control. I legit have at least 50 different quote cards I can make. You are one well of wisdom. Thank you.
Oh, I don't know. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to just talk about it. I appreciate it a lot. It helps me digest another layer.
Well, it helps all of us because for me, again, it's that same analogy of being in the boat, but it also it empowers me to keep doing the things that matter to me and not being silent too, right? Like the things that are important and that I'm feeling and thinking and reaching out only in a way that I can. It won't touch everybody, and that's okay, right? I mean, because that's essentially what you've experienced, is maybe it didn't speak to everyone, but it did speak to so many, and we need that. We need that. We need you in our lives. We do, Miss Jenny.
I love it.
Thank
you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you both.
But we do have a question for you because
last one.
Yeah,
I promise.
this is what we learned this week. So we are wondering, is there something that you've learned this week?
Something that I've learned this week.
Or last week, I guess, since it's Monday.
I think the thing that I'm learning, or that I've learned this week, and the word that just keeps coming to my head is patience.
That's a big word.
It's a big word, and I'm not saying that I've arrived or that I've learned it, but I feel like that's something that is going to bring peace. And what does patience look like for me? It's just literally letting go. Like, it's okay for things to be messy. You know what I mean? That's what I'm learning. Patience is not what I think it is, and that's what I'm learning. You know what I mean? That I just keep doing. I keep doing it, getting up and doing it every day.
So instead of thinking of patience as long suffering, you're thinking of patience as letting go. I really like that.
Neat.
So much.
Thank you for articulating that. Exactly. That was exactly what I was trying to say. You got it. You said it more beautiful.
That is it right there. We need to put that on a plaque and sell it.
We'll hand letter that, baby.
You're pretty good at that, Shalene. I feel like we should see that on something.
Yeah, we might need to. That could be Jenny's thank you gift. So
we should. We should.
Okay,
love it.
Yeah, you were awesome. Thank you, Liz. I really like that interview. Thanks for suggesting that.
Yeah, thanks Jenny again for being on the show today. We sure appreciate having her here. And just before we finish wrapping up, we do have a question of the week. And I have the question. Are you so impressed?
I am, actually.
Because every time I say that, I either forget my question, lose my question, can't find my notes of my question. I'm just not that creative, maybe. Like, Shalene's got this down. But I was really excited about this question. Okay, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
So have you ever had someone, like, famous or otherwise that you've met and you just were awed, not only because they're super famous, but they were like super cool in person too? Like it was just a really cool experience.
No.
Oh, okay.
Not really.
Who would you meet then? Like who would you want to meet if you could? Like maybe lunch with the star kind of thing or whatever. Who would you meet?
Okay, I've debated this for a long time. I would either pick Jack Black or Rebel Wilson.
Super cool.
I just find them absolutely hilarious, and I want to learn how to be as funny as them. I don't know. I just think they would be a fun friend. Mm-hmm. I think that'd be really fun.
It'd probably keep things really interesting. I feel like lunch would not just be a normal lunch.
Yeah, and I hope they wouldn't feel like they had to perform, but I'd really like to get to know them.
You wouldn't mind some performance? Oh, okay, getting to know them.
Yeah. I mean, they could perform a little for me, but I'm sure there's just some natural funniness that happens, and I really appreciate natural funniness.
Me too. You know what else I appreciate?
What?
Is the word funniness being put in the new dictionary. Did you know that that's a word now?
I didn't.
Did you know it was never a word?
No.
I just think
funniness?
It's fun. Funniness. I know.
Rebel. I'm such a rebel.
You are. That's why you want to hang out with Rebel Wilson and Jack Black. This is like a thing.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what about you, Liz?
I never met anybody actually in person. That was never a thing. I did have someone I was kind of like, well, I still follow them actually. Like I've just kind of been following their social media platform for a while. And I was actually initially introduced to him because he ran this yoga for business kind of online coaching thing that I did a few years back. Yeah. So I followed his career a little bit, and he sends out regular emails and so forth. And I was really touched by one of his emails one time. He was talking something about, I think he brought up how, we just need to recognize the hand of God in our lives or something. And I was so impressed because he's got a lot of, I don't know if it would be weird to say, like, he's just really modern. Like, he's really, he's involved in the communities. He's putting himself out there. He's just all of this stuff. He's a singer. He does yoga. He kind of mentors others and, do what you need to do to be authentic and to put your gifts out in the world, right?
Okay.
So anyways, and I just emailed him back and I was like, I just really appreciate you saying that. It's exactly what I needed to hear this week. Thank you so much. And he emailed me back, which was super cool, right? Yeah. Totally emailed me back, sounded super personal, signed off at the end. And then I emailed him again like a total geek. Okay. I was like, oh my gosh, you actually emailed me.
Fangirl.
Yeah, I totally fangirled all over him. And then he emailed me again. He was like, I always try to respond to, my followers, to the people that reach out, because it means so much to me. It's really a big deal. And ever since then, his name's Justin Michael Williams, in case you need to follow him.
Cool.
And he, every time I comment, like on anything, he always responds. Always so personal. It makes me feel like you're totally, you're human like me. And if I ever met him, I would probably just be a little, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's you. Totally would.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a cool question. Thank you. So we want to know your celebrity encounters.
Yeah, celebrity encounters or your chosen
dream
celebrity.
Lunch.
Yeah, dream encounter. If you have one.
Or
maybe
could go
both.
a little bit far.
Oh, that could. Maybe we shouldn't say dream. Your desired. No, we have to stop. Not dreams, not desires. Where are we going with this, Shalene?
We're just going for a lunch or a meet and greet.
Meet and greet. Okay.
Yeah.
We're keeping it clean.
For now. Oh.
Maybe join us another time for that
conversation.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us this week. We really appreciate you listening to us and taking time out of your day to participate.
Super excited to have you part of our show and our lives, and look forward to next week. We're hoping to have a special edition post-retreat coming up this weekend. Super stoked. Super excited if you get to be there with us. If not, we're going to try and bring it to you in a little bit of a little share afterwards, and reach out.
Keep on learning.
Because it does matter.
And so do you.
Why is that a hard question?
It can be as simple as, napkins are the cheapest at Walmart or something like that. Like,
comb your ponytail to get the knots out so it doesn't look so.
right.
That was one thing I learned,
Awesome.
by the way. Yeah, I was really proud of that knowledge.
what did you learn?
I haven't had a ponytail for a while, so
Oh, that's right. You haven't had a ponytail for a while. Huh.
I'm just barely getting one. It's so exciting.
Really?
Yeah.
I wish I could
know.
see you in this darn video then.
I will. I'll have to post a picture on Facebook just for you, Liz.
Okay, good. Tag me in it.
So, Jenny, is there something that you've learned this week that you would mind sharing with us?